Imagine a simple machine. Its code is flawless. You press a button and the doors close. Every time, every day, without emotion, without failure. But in this video, the machine refuses to obey. A girl enters an empty elevator in the middle of the night. She presses the buttons once, twice, again and again. Her movements become faster, more desperate. She hides in the corner, peeks into the hallway, steps backward like someone is standing just outside the frame, and the doors never close. For exactly 2 minutes, the machine ignores its own programming. 2 entire minutes. In a modern elevator, that should be impossible. Then something even stranger happens. The moment the girl disappears forever into the darkness of the hallway, the elevator calmly resumes working as if nothing ever happened. That footage became one of the most analyzed recordings in internet history. Millions became convinced they were watching a paranormal event in real time. Forums exploded with theories about invisible entities. Paranormal investigators called it evidence of demonic presence. The Cecil Hotel itself became mythologized as a cursed structure swallowing people whole. But tonight, we are not here to hunt ghosts. We are here to dismantle a machine. Because once you slow the footage down frame by frame, once you study the architecture of the building, once you examine the physical geometry of the roof itself, a far more disturbing possibility begins to emerge. Not supernatural, mechanical. And by the end of this analysis, you may realize something deeply unsettling. The elevator mystery is actually the least mysterious part of the entire case. Because the real paradox begins only after Elisa Lam vanishes from the camera. How did she reach the roof without triggering the alarm system? How did she climb a 10-foot industrial water tank with no fixed ladder? And most importantly, how did a person trapped inside deep water allegedly close a massive metal hatch above themselves? Those are not paranormal questions, they are engineering questions. And unlike ghost stories, engineering leaves traces. Make yourself comfortable. Tonight, we lay the technical blueprints of this event across the sterile desk and reconstruct a mechanical paradox that still refuses to close. This case became the loudest digital mystery of our century. The internet is flooded with thousands of videos analyzing this event through a paranormal lens. A human tragedy was turned into a cheap, mystical spectacle about the cursed Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, invisible demons and dark energies. But in this room, we do not look for ghosts. We look at physics, architecture, and the cold logic of space. And when you strip away all the tabloid noise, you are faced with a much more complex, entirely real engineering puzzle. Elisa Lam, 21 years old, a Canadian student. She vanished on January 31st, 2013. Her body was found 19 days later on the roof of the hotel, inside one of 4 massive industrial water storage tanks. The coroner's official conclusion: accidental drowning, complicated by a severe episode of bipolar disorder. The case was closed, but the moment we begin to analyze the harsh physical obstacles that objectively had to be overcome to end up inside that tank, the official narrative begins to shatter into atoms. To objectively understand what actually happened that night, we must divide this anomaly into 2 independent phases: the behavior of the machine and the geometry of the roof. Let's look closely at the footage. The Los Angeles Police Department released this video as the last digital evidence of her existence. Nearly 3 minutes of footage from a security camera mounted on the ceiling of the elevator cab. The public instantly labeled her movements as demonic. She walks into the cab, presses a row of buttons, but the doors do not react. She cautiously peeks out into the hallway, hides in the camera's blind spot, steps out again, makes strange, almost fluid hand gestures in the empty air, and finally walks away forever. And only after her disappearance do the elevator doors slowly slide shut. But let's view this digital footprint not as a scene from a thriller, but as an interaction between a vulnerable human psyche and a soulless mechanical interface. At the 14-second mark of the video, Elisa walks into the elevator and interacts with the panel. Look closely at the trajectory of her hand. She doesn't press one specific button for her floor. She sweeps her hand across the entire middle row, pressing multiple buttons simultaneously from the bottom up. Electrical engineers who subsequently analyzed the control panel of this specific elevator model pointed out one critical detail, a detail ignored by millions of viewers. At the very bottom of the middle row, directly beneath the floor numbers, sits a technical button labeled Door Hold. This is a standard hard-coded function. When the circuit of this button is closed, the elevator's processor receives a command to block the door closing mechanism for exactly 2 minutes. This is designed so hotel staff have enough time to load heavy luggage carts. Elisa accidentally brushed this button when she swept her palm across the panel. The elevator was not cursed. The machine was not broken. It was simply executing its algorithm flawlessly. It received the door hold command and obediently, second by second, counted down the 2 minutes. This single technical fact completely destroys the mystical aura of the video. Elisa, who was suffering from an acute episode of paranoia at the time, a documented medical symptom of her condition, was desperately trying to leave the floor. She pressed the buttons, but the doors remained open. She did not realize she had triggered the delay timer herself. In her altered state of consciousness, the open doors ignoring her commands became physical confirmation of her worst fears. She peeked into the hallway not because she saw a ghost, but because she was trying to comprehend who, or what, was holding those doors open from the outside. Her strange hand movements are not a ritual. Psychiatrists note that such uncontrolled motor reactions are a typical side effect of taking or abruptly stopping powerful psychotropic medications. The machine simply waited, and the moment the 2-minute timer ran out, the doors closed. No mysticism, only code, blind mechanics, and a tragic collision with a system. But while the behavior in the elevator has an absolute technical explanation, what happened next on the roof of the building defies the laws of physics and basic engineering security. How did the physical body of Elisa Lam get from the dark hallway of the 15th floor to the inside of an industrial water tank? Let's analyze the geometry of the Cecil Hotel's roof. For an ordinary person to even stand near those tanks, they had to overcome multiple layers of strict physical and electronic barriers. The first barrier, the roof access doors. Access to the roof was strictly prohibited for hotel guests. The heavy metal doors were not just locked with a key, they were integrated into the building's centralized security alarm system. Any attempt to force them open without entering a specialized staff access code would instantly break the electronic circuit. This would trigger a piercing siren across the entire floor and send an immediate alert to the main security desk. According to the official security logs that night, the alarm never triggered once. The doors did not open. Security recorded nothing. How could a physical object bypass this electronic system? The only alternative vector to the roof is the exterior fire escape. To use this route, a girl would have had to climb out of a window at the end of a narrow hallway, climb over a parapet, and scale cold, rusty metal stairs up the exterior wall of the building in absolute darkness. It is physically possible, but extremely difficult, and highly dangerous, especially for someone in a state of profound disorientation and fear. But let's assume she somehow navigated this extreme route and found herself on the open roof. Here she faces a second, much more formidable obstacle: the engineering design of the tanks themselves. Towering on the roof were four massive cylindrical water storage tanks. Their height was roughly 10 feet. They did not have stationary ladders welded to their exterior walls. To climb to the top of such a tank to inspect the water, hotel maintenance staff were required to use a heavy mobile metal ladder. When a hotel worker finally discovered Elisa's body 19 days later, there was no mobile ladder anywhere near the tank. A fundamental spatial question arises. How did a girl standing 5'4" and weighing less than 120 pounds scale a perfectly smooth 10-foot metal cylinder without a single foothold? From a biomechanical standpoint, this task is impossible without the use of additional objects or the physical assistance of another human being. And finally, the third and most crucial barrier, the mechanics of the tank lid itself. To get into the water, one had to open a heavy metal maintenance hatch at the very top of the cylinder. According to the initially documented police reports and the direct testimony of the maintenance worker who found the body, this hatch was tightly closed. Think deeply about this absolute spatial paradox. A person somehow miraculously climbs inside an industrial water tank. The water level is over halfway full. The person is floating in this water. How could she, from the inside, without any solid footing beneath her, physically reach up to the heavy metal lid and pull it tightly shut above her head, fighting the sheer force of gravity? Engineers and security experts agree on one thing. Closing this specific type of hatch from the inside while treading deep water is biomechanically impossible. Later, under the colossal pressure of these physical facts and media scrutiny, the Los Angeles Police Department abruptly changed their official statements. They released a statement claiming the worker had allegedly made a mistake and that the hatch was actually found open. But this retrospective alteration of key testimonies only cast longer shadows and deeper doubts over the competence and transparency of the entire investigation. When we strip away the mysticism and the internet folklore, we are left face to face with cold engineering facts. The behavior in the elevator is the direct result of the door hold button in a vulnerable medical state. It is algorithmically logical and technically proven, but the geometry of the roof remains an insurmountable equation. The silence of the electronic alarms, the missing mobile ladder beside a 10-foot metal wall, and a physical body found inside a closed system. For Elisa Lam to end up there entirely alone, she would have had to perform a sequence of actions that directly contradict basic biomechanics, spatial logic, and the physical limitations of the human body. And that is why this case continues to haunt millions of people, not because of ghosts, but because some mechanical questions were never truly answered. Share your architectural and logical analysis in the comments. Thank you for being with us today. Machines always follow their code, unlike people. Stay observant, because a space might seem empty, but someone is always watching.